Well, welcome once again to Calaveras Living. Now, on today's program, we're going to talk about three actually serious issues, serious challenges in our society today that have been perpetrated on us by, shall we say, people who are not very kind or very moral or very considerate. We're going to talk about identity theft. We're going to talk about scams. We're going to talk about elder abuse. And I know at least 2 out of 3 of those affect people of different ages, but all of them affect people who are older. And our guest today, you're going to recognize her because she hosts the Sandwich Crunch on our very station here, which is a great program, and helps all people who are elders or boomers and their families to handle the challenges of our present day society. I don't know, that's a kind of strange word, but society seems to mean class, but there are a lot of problems that we have to face. Now, Bonnie Kuhn, which you may not know, she's a certified senior advisor, and that means she knows a lot about these subjects today. And Bonnie, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. And in fact, I think it would be good if you'd come on, every once in a while and talk about these issues, and we could get the issues and the solutions or the possible solutions out to more people.
I agree.
So,
Thank you.
what does it mean to be a senior, certified senior advisor?
Well, the training actually is a global perspective of senior issues, everything from aging to health and nutrition to lifestyle to retirement, financial, estate planning, end-of-life planning, and also protecting oneself from elder abuse and various other caregiving issues. It's a pretty broad scope of the senior life.
Okay, now who certifies you? I mean, how do you get certified?
This is certified through the Society of Certified Senior Advocates, and it is an organization that is recognized throughout the United States, and is generally this state of certification is used by attorneys, used by financial planners, estate planners, various other professionals in the industry that are working with seniors.
Okay. So you had to go through quite a bit of, the classes or
They're online
exams?
classes. You can actually do them 2 different ways. You can actually take a 4-day intensive course live, and then you have to take a test, or you can do a 6-month period of time where you're actually watching the videos and also reading the book. I found that to be the most productive because when I first signed up for the course, the instructor shared with me that 50% of the people that are extremely educated flunk the class. So I thought it might be a good idea to spend quite a bit of time really knowing this information and studying it. So I spent a lot of time doing that.
So some of those attorneys didn't make it, huh?
No, they just came in figuring they could fly through that case and said, well, so I feel so much better.
Yeah, that would humble people who sometimes need to be humbled.
Yes, I'd say so.
Okay. Now let's take the first topic for today, identity theft. I guess we all know what it is, or is there a simple definition of it?
A simple definition of identity theft is basically someone who wants to take something of value from you. That means taking your social security number, your driver's license, assuming your identity in some form so that they can obtain credit, they can obtain a job, they can obtain access to your bank accounts, various different aspects that they want of you that is secure. It could be your business information. You might have, like someone might want my certification for whatever reason. Yeah. Or if you have a trademark.
Some lawyer.
Yeah, some lawyer might want to flunk the test.
Yeah. Okay.
So it would be for a variety of reasons, but at the expense of you, the individual, who they're taking the ID from, that information. And they're stealing it in multiple different ways.
Okay. Do you have any unique stories that you could quickly tell, maybe 1 or 2?
I have a personal story.
Okay.
So I actually had this happen about 4 months ago, with Eldorado Savings. And they were amazing, very, very amazing at helping me handle this. I was reading my bank account and reviewing the paperwork that I got in that month, and looked at the statement, and there were several charges, well over $3,000 in charges, that were not mine. And I immediately called the bank. I said, these are not mine. I have no idea where they came from. I said, I know these stores, and I wasn't even in that region. And so they immediately stepped up and said, we will take care of it, we will handle it right away. And I have to say, from what I've heard from other people, that doesn't always happen immediately with a bank. So the big thing that taught me to share with my clients and share with others is that be proactive, pay attention to your bank statements, pay attention to your credit card statements, and if you see something awry, immediately contact the credit card company and or the vendor. So, for example, there's actually another scam that's coming out or is out right now. It's called the $9.84 scam. And it's in, I believe, the bottom line that they were talking about this. And it's a small charge. But if you say you use your credit card for everything, I know I used to use my credit card for everything and pay it off every month. And I no longer use credit cards. So
Oh, you don't?
unless I really have to, I usually try to stay cash based. But with regards to that, what had happened was people were not paying attention to the little charges. And what happens is that slips through the field of vision, and then the next statement comes on, and the person who's been using your credit card continues to use it. And then the charges get larger and larger. So there's a pattern that grows without you having stepped forward initially when you said, that wasn't my charge. So it needs to be, you need to be really vigilant when something like that happens.
How do those people do that? They do it over the phone? They don't actually, I mean, they have the number, but they don't have a card.
Correct. A lot of it's over the phone. For example, mine was over the phone. They were able to get my card, and we do believe it was at a gas station. So it was either at a gas station or as an online purchase like through Amazon or something like that. So they are able to get the credit card information. They're able to get the ID, the 3 little numbers on the back, because most of those places will ask for that. With the exception of a gas station, they won't ask you for that. And then they'll get your name. They usually get the bank. The bank information is on there also because that is identified in that number. So they get everything they need on you just by either you making a purchase online and somebody on the other side is not ethical, not moral, and is determined to get a hold of this information for their own means, or it may be a conglomerate. It could be, I mean, we have Russian gangs doing this. We have China doing this, that are infiltrating our systems, our credit card systems, our banking systems, and doing this problem. This is not just a local issue. It is not just a nationwide issue. This is an international issue.
Okay, a world issue.
World
They'll
issue.
be out of space eventually.
Yeah.
Now, do most people know after you use your credit card at a gas station that you should clear that?
Probably not.
Because-
and most people shouldn't use their
Because
their
the
credit
next
card.
person can get your card number if you don't clear it.
Exactly. And you should always take your receipt. Don't leave it behind. So many people will say, sure, I want the receipt, and then they forget to take the receipt. Because you have to generally push a button saying, yes, I want the receipt.
Yeah.
So it's also not only clearing it, but take the receipt or don't take the receipt and clear it.
Okay, so generally, what's your advice to people to protect themselves?
Be vigilant. Pay attention to the credit card you're using. Pay attention to how many credit cards you carry with you. Pay attention to whom you're giving this information to. Because you may be giving out a credit card information over the phone. Say you're buying a piece of clothing and you're talking to someone over the phone through a department store. I mean, you have to trust that the person is actually just taking the credit card information and only utilizing it for the purchase of what you are purchasing. But you need to be vigilant on paying attention to when you're expecting the statement, what is charged, and then you need to watch what is continually charged by watching your credit card. Now, you can pay attention to it on your own, or a really simple way of doing this is to get involved with a company like LifeLock or some other organization such as that, where you can actually work with them. You give them your social security number, your driver's license number, all of your personal valuable information, and they have a $1 million guarantee. They have extremely well-recognized reputation and a very trustworthy reputation for protecting your assets and protecting you. And they keep an eye on your records daily.
And they'll notify you quickly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's
Good.
a great resource for everybody.
And also, I guess, just in general, when you're filling out applications or anything, give the least possible information you can give, right?
Yes, and don't give your social security number out. You do not need to give your social security number out for 99% of the things out there. If somebody asks for your social security number, for example, and this doesn't quite fall under ID theft, it falls under scams or elder abuse, but one of the scams are charities. And they will often say, oh, we need to have your social security number in order to process this for our tax records, which is not true. They have no reason and no need for your social security number. And you don't need to give that to them. They don't need your driver's license. They don't need these things. And don't give out your credit card information over the phone to someone you don't know, don't trust, and are questioning. I mean, it's being vigilant.
So it's funny, identity theft and scams are so closely allied because they overlap. But anyway, getting into scams, you've told me in the past sometimes about some of the scams you've heard about. Where are they likely to happen? I mean, they happen over the phone, they happen in person. but what are some that do?
Well, you know what? I share this with everyone. Going to AARP is an amazing resource. AARP Theft, and they will help you with getting all types of information on current scams, current ID theft programs that are out there, and what people are doing, what is common during certain times of year. And I actually just downloaded a current copy of what they anticipate for certain months of the year, what certain types of scams are more prevalent. So we're coming into the holidays. Actually, we're coming into this September period. And in September, they had shared that it would be home repair. So it's an ideal time where someone's going to come up and they might drive up, in a truck that really looks like an authentic contractor, has a little number, license underneath it, and it's got, it's a nice clean white truck with all the racks and everything. You're like, wow, this looks nice. Might even be really well dressed and comes up to your door and says, gosh, Mrs. Smith, it's really nice to see you. And Mrs. Smith is looking at her, I'm like, I have no idea who he is. Well, I was just over at your neighbor George's house, and I just helped her fix her fence. And I have some leftover wood and some stain, and I noticed that you needed some help on your deck.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to help you. And so it starts off in a manner such as that, and basically he's trying to get her to say, sure, for $500 I'll fix your deck. And then what happens, and it's sad, is that they'll appear to be doing the work. They'll collect the check, first of all, and they will appear to be doing the work. And they may actually do work. For example, here's one that they actually did the work. They were supposed to refinish his driveway, so which we know in the snow country you need to have your driveway refinished fairly often. And this guy said, I'll refinish it. However, on the first snow, it washed right off because it wasn't the real stuff. And so there are things out there that happen. So September is a very prominent month for scams in home repair. And then when we get into October, taxes. So number one, IRS rarely, if ever, contacts you by the phone. And if they do, you tell them to send you a letter. 99% of the time, they will send you a letter, and that's how you will be communicated to by the IRS. Anybody who calls and says they're from the IRS, even if it shows up on your caller ID that it's IRS, do not, under any circumstances, give them any information. Oftentimes, they'll call and say, well, we will only accept payment via online or wire transfer. Never wire transfer money to anyone. Anybody. I mean, unless you really know everything about the person you are sending it to and absolutely are certain it is the person you're sending it to, do not wire money. Do not give your information out over the phone.
A couple of things that I recall you telling me, that utilities also, they don't call up and ask for a lot of information, they send you a letter.
Correct.
So call them back, or go by U.S. Postal Service or something. Don't wire money. Don't give them information. And the idea that you came up with when we were talking a few days ago, you said make up a family password.
Yes.
Could you explain to people out there, what do you mean by a family password?
Well, that comes under scams, and that actually, they call it the grandparent scam, and it's a very unfortunate scam, and it's very prevalent. There are people that have been just completely financially destroyed because they think they're helping a family member. And what happens is someone will call or email you and saying, how you get these emails in the middle, I'm stuck in the middle of London airport, and first you'll read the email address and it'll say, from Joe. Well, I know Joe, but that's not really his email address, but let me read it. Joe's in London? I didn't know Joe was in London. So if it's grandma and grandpa going, well, gosh, is Joseph in London? I didn't know he was in London. Gosh, well, I think I want to make sure he's okay. I don't want him stranded over there. Of course I'll send him the money. Okay, wait. Before that ever happens, contact immediate family, and you talk to Joe. You have Joe call you and say, Joe, I really want to help you out, but you know what our family code is. And whether it's a code of ethic or whatever it is that you call it, it's a passcode that your individual family has and shares.
So just
nobody else
your
knows.
closest trusted relatives, you get together and you make up a password, letters, words, whatever, numbers.
Exactly. So like for us, we've got 4 kids. My dad, my husband and I, and my brother, and soon to be my sister-in-law, will all have a code that we can work with and say, gosh, if an emergency happens, we know what to say.
So if someone calls you up and said, hey, I'm in London and I'm Joe, but I just don't feel well or something, and well, it doesn't sound like Joe, but hey, it is, you just say, okay, Joe, give me the family password, right?
Right, and then if he gives you the family password, then obviously that is very likely it is him.
Yeah.
Still recommend contacting, if it's, especially for grandparents, contacting a grandson or grandchild's parents, or if they're married, their spouse or their significant other, whomever that may be in their life, but someone important for them that they know they can trust and talk to and say, is Joe really in London? I mean, is he actually on a business trip, or what's going on? So ask questions, never ever give information, don't give your credit card information over the phone, and do not wire money. And actually what is very sad about this is that this just happened recently in one of our local pharmacies. An older woman came in and she was ready to wire $500. And this is another scam, not quite related to the grandparent scam, but she was ready to wire $500 because she had heard from someone who said that she was related and she was going to inherit $1 million. However, they needed a $500 processing fee. So if you send us the $500 processing fee, then we'll be more than happy to send you that $1 million.
Yeah.
And it's not only that young woman or older woman that it had happened to, but I had spoken recently to someone else who said, my neighbor's doing this. He keeps doing it and keeps doing it, and we're trying to get him to stop doing it. So, and unfortunately, elders are, which is 65 and older, considered within that range, are highly abused.
Yeah. Susceptible, vulnerable. Huh?
Susceptible, they're vulnerable. And oftentimes it's not because of lack of knowledge or lack of understanding. These guys are good.
Yeah.
Scam artists truly are artists.
Well, con men and con women are very likable people.
Oh,
usually.
that's why they're good at it.
Yeah, that's why they're so good. Before we move to elder abuse, what tips would you have for somebody who we all get them, the calls at home that are solicitation? I mean, just hang up, tell them off, come up with something clever, or say you'll call them and sue them, or, I mean, what do you do?
Well, I know that I've even had this feeling many times when I've gotten the calls. Someone will be on the other side of the phone, and they have this really nice voice, and I want to be nice to them, and I realize it's a scam call. And so I say, I'm just not interested, and I hang up. Well, because I've done that, now I know they're going to keep calling me. Yeah. So there's a couple things that you can do. You can actually refer them to a different number, and that would be the number of our local DA's office.
Oh, okay.
That's a great number. And
or somebody who might, saying that person might be receptive to their offer?
Yes,
okay.
Say, or that, gosh, this is not a good time for me to talk, and, and this is a much better number for you to reach me at. So why don't you call me at tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. At 209, and you can actually get the number here on our county website for the DA's office, and this has been approved by Dana File, who's one of our criminal attorneys. So, yes, so that, and you can also hang up. I mean, hanging up is it's a simple fact you can do that, but that doesn't mean they're going to stop calling you. The other thing you can also do is keep talking. Chattering on the phone. If you really are a chatter and you don't want to say no and you feel really bad about hanging up the phone, then just chitter chat about the day. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous out. The roses are blooming. The birds are fluttering around. Oh wow, you should see that gorgeous hummingbird right over here. It's just
because they're always in a hurry. Huh?
Right, and they're in a hurry, and you just keep talking, but do not give them your name, give them your spouse's name, your children's name, your grandchildren's name, where you live, your address. Nothing. You just keep it very superficial, but you can talk all you want because they're not going to listen. Yeah. Or the other thing, I know my husband's done this, is he'll just leave the phone off the hook. And
he seems like such a nice guy.
My dad will do that too. Because what they do is, and many people have found this out, is they'll call you, and these are generally called robocalls, and they are actually scheduled like a robot, and they keep calling and calling and calling. And if you happen to answer it, and you hang up, you're still online with them until it disconnects.
Yeah.
So, best thing is hang up. don't give your number out to anybody that doesn't need it. I know for me, my business number is out there, so I get a lot of calls that I
In
don't
fact, we're going to give it later.
I know. So don't send me anything
Don't send
unless
her,
you really
don't
want.
try to solicit anything. She's here to help you. You're not here to sell her anything.
No.
But anyway, moving ahead, and I wish we had about an hour, but on the unfortunate subject of elder abuse, what's the most usual thing that happens, or say the one that hits you emotionally the hardest of what happens?
Neglect, because that is just an all-encompassing word. Neglect can be financial neglect, it could be nutritional neglect, emotional neglect. I mean, it can be completely neglecting someone's well-being and welfare, neglecting making sure that they're on the right medications, making sure that they're taking them on the right times or at the right times. So that is one of the most sad. And the other
It's kind
part,
of the highest or the lowest form. Okay.
it is, well, it goes above, and I mean, there's various forms of elder abuse. And the one thing about elder abuse, and also identity theft and scams, but elder abuse cuts across every culture, every economic realm, everything. It doesn't matter what race you are, what color you are, it doesn't matter where you come from, what country you're from. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with human beings being cruel to one another.
Now, what people are trying to get, I'm trying to look at it from the other side of the bad guys who are calling. In identity theft, they're trying to get a lot of information about you so they can maybe use that on and on and on and use it for other purposes. In a scam, they're just trying to get your money usually, right?
Yes, money or also getting ID information as well.
Okay.
But generally money.
And then with elder abuse, they're trying to, well, it can be they're trying to get your money or they're just neglectful and don't care.
Well, a good example of this, and unfortunately elder abuse, about 73% is committed by a family member or a caregiver that is related to the family. And that is an extremely disturbing fact. And we don't have, I mean, actually right now the state is working on, and the federal government are working on laws for elder abuse because we don't have the laws in place like we do for child abuse. And they're currently working on laws and legislation to create more protective services and programs that actually communicate with one another. Because I can report something to social services, and which by law, if you observe elder abuse, whether you are the caretaker or not, you must by law report that. Because you can be brought into court and you can be charged
accused of that,
and accused for not reporting it. So it is to everyone's best interest, because over 500,000 cases are reported a year. Millions, absolutely millions, go underreported. They said in New York there was a study that was just recently done. 1 out of 24 cases of elder abuse are reported.
Wow, that's very small.
And that's a very new study.
Now, what can an older person do, especially who might not be well or financially deprived? What can he or she do if they, they might think of calling seniors, or what do you call it?
Social services.
Social services, or they might
call the police department.
Call the police, and the police will refer it then to social services.
Well, they actually have to come out and file a claim, or actually make a criminal report, and then social services will have to come out as well. It's somewhat more complicated what happens, but the biggest thing I would ask and really emphasize is that for an elder, if they're afraid, because oftentimes that is a reason why it is not reported. They're afraid or they're embarrassed for whatever the fact that has happened.
Or they might have been threatened.
Or they have, yes, and threatened for financial reasons, mental reasons, sexual abuse, various aspects of elder abuse. And it's a critical topic, it's a very critical area, and it just, you need to, if you have the wherewithal to be able to step into a place or call a trusted friend. Say you have a daughter or son who's caregiving for you, or even maybe it's your spouse.
Yeah.
And I think, and I'm making this preface not based on fact or studies, but looking at the overall individual that becomes a caregiver. Sometimes people become caregivers by default, not by choice.
Can't get other jobs.
Oh, they can't get another job.
Yeah.
That, or no, honestly, I think like caregivers, say in a spousal situation, sometimes the husband is the spouse, is the caregiver, or the wife is the caregiver, and they don't look at themselves as caregivers. And this may become a long-term issue, especially if you've got someone who gets into dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that. And if they don't understand how to negotiate through these very challenging and difficult diseases, they are going to be challenged. And then they are stressed out. And oftentimes that personal stress comes out in neglect. And oftentimes, I don't think it's always meant to be, but I think that it still needs to be reported. And you going to someone you trust, and if you don't feel that you can trust your spouse, obviously, and you know that they are hurting you, or it's your child, go to a best friend. Or if you're going to the pharmacy, if you're capable of going to the pharmacy, or when you go to the doctor. Actually, my recommendation, and this is what I think all doctors should do, is that when you as a patient go to your doctor, I believe that the doctor should make it mandatory that that patient comes in alone for the first 10 minutes.
Oh, to talk.
To talk. Without the caregiver, without the spouse, without anything. Because I've seen it before. Someone has been abused, and
Is afraid.
and they're afraid, and they're with the abuser. So it's very, very frightening. But I want to go back to one of the things that's growing astronomically on the ID theft side, and that is synthetic ID theft. And that is basically taking, say, your social security number and creating a brand new individual over here. So real information and false information and creating a brand new person.
I hadn't heard of that.
Lots of ghosts out there.
Lots of synthetics. Well, a lot of phonies out there, so it would kind of assume that there'd be something synthetic.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you very much. One thing I did want to ask you, how do you get all those good guests for your show when you're doing the Sandwich Crunch? You get all the subject matter experts to talk about the subjects.
Well, either I've met them personally or someone's referred them to me, because it's obviously I'd like to keep everybody within the community. And so if someone would like to, or they know of someone who is an expert in the senior field or works with seniors, that's oftentimes the referral, or it is someone that I've seeked out.
Okay, because you get some really good guests.
Thank you.
Also, because in the past weeks there have been some deaths, one by suicide, are you going to do something on that, or it's easy to do some programs about suicide prevention?
We will at some point. I haven't really addressed that, but yes, we're talking about Robin Williams, and he just recently passed away to suicide and depression. And with seniors, actually, suicide is very large. It's a growing number for many seniors for a variety of reasons, and it is something that we need to pay attention to. But that's a whole other topic with a lot of other information that needs to be addressed in the most appropriate manner.
So you may or may not do that?
No, I actually will do it, but not right away. It's not on the calendar.
You don't have
this
to
year.
promise me.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyway, we thank you for watching. Also wanted to give Bonnie's number. If you could pop that up on the screen, we could, 795-2850.
Yes.
Is that right? I haven't lost it.
You haven't lost it all. You're right on top of it, John.
Okay, so call her, leave a message too if she's not there, and tell her what you want to talk about. And she has a lot of resources, a lot of expert people. So Bonnie, thanks a lot.
Thanks, John.
See you next time on This is Calaveras Living.